another episode of Wicked Breakfast. I'm Kathy, and tonight we have Kevin and Debbie. How are you guys? About the spirits in the White House. Have you guys been to the White House? Like, not inside, but like, have you went to like DC and seen the White House?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go inside a couple of times.
Oh,
And they definitely control your space, right, of where you
mhm.
can go and they talked a little bit back then about ghosts being seen in hallways and different things like that. It wasn't a paranormal tour, but they openly talked about it like there's activity in this, this area of the White House, and they would have a story to it.
Wow. I'm shocked. I mean, I've been to the White House on the outside of it. Uh, and I thought that it was going to be a lot bigger than what it was looking at it because they make it look like this huge place, which technically it is. It's mostly underground of all the other stuff and whatever else they got going on. I mean, if my house was next to it, yeah, it'd be the garage, the one parking stall garage of the White House compared to that thing. But it, I think I thought it was going to be more like a palace size home,
Hmm.
but that's not the case. But I'm shocked that they actually talked about it.
Yeah, and this was back in the 80s, so I was still kind of a kid, but yeah, they talked about I thought they talked about John Adams and another president that, either roamed the hall or was a resident to one of the offices.
So going back to the White House, that time period, John Adams was the first president to actually live in that White House because Washington did not. People think that it started with Washington, but he really didn't stay there. John Adams and Abigail Adams were the first to stay in the White House. And it wasn't all glamour and glitz like it is now. It was like they were still building the thing. And it was where Abigail was like putting her laundry out and like hanging it in the hallways and stuff like that because it basically was like a swamp area back then. But she also had like her rose garden that I believe her roses are still there, if I remember correctly. And
I
she
believe so.
tends to the garden. They've seen her ghost tending to the garden. So it's kind of cool to think that, they talked about it.
Dolly Madison is the one who haunts the Rose Garden.
Is it Dolly? I thought it was Abigail. It's Dolly then.
Oh, Dolly Madison, yeah.
Okay. So Abigail, you're right. You're right. Abigail was the one that they would see with the laundry and they would see her trying to hang up her laundry. You're right. The Madison was her roses are still there, or at least they were still there. And they might have torn them out in the last few years, but they were there. So it's interesting to think about the White House. As big as it is, I mean, it is technically a home, but it also is a lot of office space and stuff like that. Most people know the White House being haunted by a Lincoln after Lincoln had passed. But did you guys hear about the little boy that was haunting the hallways before Lincoln even passed away, when his sons were still little? Did you hear about
Mm.
that one?
No, I didn't read anything about that.
So it was some show, like a haunted history show or something like that. They talked about this little boy who went to one of I'm not sure if it was Willie or Tad Lincoln, and they saw this. The staff saw this little boy talking to one of the Lincoln boys. I don't remember which one it was. And the little boy was playing with the Lincoln boys, and at one point the little boy turned around, but he had no face.
Hmm.
And I want to say it was Tad because the little boy ended up getting sick. So that had to have been Tad, right? That was the one that passed away. Willie was Or was it Willie that passed away?
Willie passed away,
Willie
yeah.
passed away. Okay. I always get those two mixed up. So Willie must have been the one playing with the little boy because they talked about it, how he played with the little boy for a while and he was talking about his friend and the staff were like, what friend? And then occasionally they would see there was a fireplace, a specific fireplace that this little boy would be at. And he would be playing with the Lincoln boys, we'll say Willie. And when the staff finally did see him, the little boy turned around and he had no face. It was just nothing there. And that kind of freaked him out. And then it was shortly after that Willie ended up getting sick. And it was not only Willie, there was another president afterwards that also his son ended up getting sick, and he ended up not sick. He got hit by a train. And he also talked about playing with this little boy. And so they had all these like tragic things that had happened with the death of a little boy that ended up playing with the Lincoln's son. And then he ended up getting sick and dying himself. So they now, not that they roam together, but they're still in the hallways of the White House, supposedly. What stories have you heard about the White House? Either one of you.
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
His bedroom is supposedly haunted.
Yeah. Well, Lincoln had the premonition before he died of his death.
Yeah, and Mary Todd was big into seances.
Yes. He ended up having a dream and he walked down and there was like a wake that was going on, and he walked up to one of the attendants and said, what's going on? And the president had passed away, and he looked in the coffin and there he was laying there dead. And it was like a day or two later that he ended up dying. So he had his own premonition.
I had goosebumps.
Right? And then Lincoln's one that tends to haunt the halls the most. Did you hear about Churchill when Churchill met Lincoln?
Mm-mm.
So Churchill, back during World War II, he liked to take. He was known to take his baths. He loved taking baths. So his room was Lincoln's bedroom, and so he went in and took his bath, and he came out and he's butt naked, and he steps out into the bedroom area, and standing by the mantle is President Lincoln, and he's looking at him, and Churchill's like, okay, well, you kind of got me in a disadvantage here. And then shortly after he said it, Lincoln like disappeared. So Churchill's just standing there butt naked talking to our dead president, and then just like, okay, well, that just happened. Let's
Awkward.
get dressed and go to a meeting. So you were talking about the spirits, like when you were in the 80s, Kevin, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard about anything recent of them discussing things or seeing things?
Unfortunately, I haven't been out to DC in a long time, so yeah, I wouldn't know.
Have you read anything about anybody in the White House seeing anything or experiencing anything?
I mean, the only thing I remember hearing a lot about was Mary Todd and doing seances and things of that nature. I think she was struggling over Willie, losing her son.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure after the president died, it probably was even more intense. But that's the primary set of stories that I remember hearing.
How about you, Debbie?
The only thing that I really heard a lot about was just, Lincoln's bedroom and people, being asleep in the bed and like opening their eyes and there he is. And
Hmm.
I mean, that would scare me too. But plus I've heard that current visitors, when they are asked to stay overnight, they don't want to sleep in Lincoln's bed. They want to sleep somewhere else. They've heard so many stories, they don't want to add to it.
I could understand that. I mean, I guess whatever country that comes in that they're not too fond of, and be like, okay, you get the Lincoln bedroom.
Yeah.
See if you're ready to negotiate in the morning.
Yeah.
So I mean, they have there's a timeline that I've seen. 1862 to 1863 was Mary Lincoln. Like you said, yeah, she was grieving over her son Willie's death. Began to do spirit circles or seances in the Red Room. And then at the presidential cottage at the soldiers' home. And then spiritualism, was popular back then. And it was like a comfort thing that they did. And like, maybe I can talk to him. People still do that today, you want your loved one, you want to talk to them as long as you possibly can. Yeah, they've crossed over, but can you still communicate with them? And she had her grief and everything. Her son Robert ended up wanting to commit her because her grief was so bad from the death of her son and her husband. And, I mean, somebody shot her husband right next to her. So, who wouldn't have, as we now know it, PTSD, but at the time they didn't know that, it was just, they thought she was just mad and just crazy. 1901 to 1904, there was a Jeremiah or Jerry Smith started working at the White House during the Ulysses S. Grant administration in the late 1860s. He was a footman, and he served as a footman, a butler, a cook, a doorman, an official duster. That was a thing until his retirement approximately 35 years later. And it was a popular character storyteller. Reporters could always count on him on a slow day in the news to, make some kind of story or whatever. And he claims to have seen Lincoln's ghost. He's seen not only Lincoln's ghost, but Grant and McKinley and several of the first ladies. That is one packed house. When you think
Very
about
active house, yeah.
Yeah. So here's another one. 1911, one little known spirit of an unidentified 15-year-old boy called the Thing would greatly frighten the Taft staff in 1911. President Taft's military aide, Major, I kid you not, his last name is Butt, Major Butt, wrote to his sister Clara that the ghost, it seems, is a young boy about 14 or 15 years old. They said that the first knowledge one has of the presence of the Thing, in quotations, is a slight pressure on the shoulder, as if someone was leaning over your shoulder to see what you might be doing. Taft ordered Butt to tell the White House staff that the first member to repeat stories about the Thing would be fired. He was not happy. So they say like Abraham Lincoln, Willie Lincoln, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, Dolly Madison, John Taylor, William Henry Harrison, Abigail Adams, an unknown British soldier, David Burns, Anna Sherratt are all haunting the White House. That's a lot of ghosts.
That's
in
a
one
lot of
area.
people.
Right? And they're from different time periods. It's not like, it's not, it's like the span of the time period that it's been around, which is kind of interesting. So Abraham Lincoln likes to, I guess, still just come out and say hi to everybody. So he appears in the bedroom, his bedroom, and then the yellow oval room. And I guess my dog's right here. The first, do you mind? I am trying to talk, young lady. The first lady, Grace Coolidge. You're making this very difficult, Bella. Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Queen I can't even say it. Wilhelmina of the Netherlands claimed to have all seen Lincoln. It's like he comes out and says hi to everybody that stops at the White House. Like, he's the greeter. His son, who did die in the White House, was seen by the White House staff, by the Grant administrators. So Grant was in there in 1870s. So Willie is like, I don't want to see my mom and dad. I want to go check out Ulysses S. Grant's people and say hi. So then there's Andrew Jackson, who's supposedly, now this one, Debbie, I don't think you'd like. Andrew Jackson supposedly lying in his bed in the Queen's bedroom, which is a rose room, let out a guttural laugh that has been heard in the White House since the 1860s. Mary Lincoln herself claimed to have heard Jackson stomping and swearing. Thomas Jefferson, our third president, he likes to play his violin in the yellow oval room. So I guess if you hear some violin music, that's what he's doing. Dolly Madison, like we talked about, she's very protective over her rose garden. John Taylor likes to haunt the blue room. And that's the room that he proposed to his second wife in, I guess. And then William Henry Harrison haunts the attic. He is the first president to die in the White House. Why the attic? I didn't even know the White House had an attic, actually. That'd be like more offices up there, like Secret Service.
Be a bizarre space to want to haunt.
Right. If you're going to haunt anything, go do the bowling alley or something. Swimming pool. Abigail Adams, she hung the laundry in the East Room. And then the contemporary staff can smell wet laundry and the scent of lavender. I guess it's better than a wet dog. An unnamed British soldier, he perished during the War of 1812. He apparently roams the White House grounds holding a torch. And for the people that are in England, no, we're not talking about the flashlight, an actual torch. Like US, we think of torch fire on a stick. So 1812, British soldier walks the grounds. That's going to be a little unnerving for those that are like on the outside trying to protect the White House, because they've got guards everywhere in DC around the White House, on top of it, inside it.
Yeah, they're patrolling everywhere.
I've never seen so many different police departments, I guess you could say, or law enforcement than I've ever seen in DC. I didn't even know there was
a lot of agencies in DC. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we were walking around the White House, we saw Homeland Security out there. We saw Secret Service out there. We saw FBI out there. We saw Metro police out there. I'm like, how many? I get it that you have the president and, the government is settled here, but my God, can't you just go under one roof and just call yourself one thing? So now we also have the British soldier that's still on guard, I guess, in the White House. So that's another agency that we got to pull in, the MI6 or whatever they're called. James Bond of 1812. David Burns. I'm not sure who David Burns is. Do you guys know who that is?
I
David
do
Burns.
not know who that is.
He owned the land on which the White House now stands and has been seen or heard in the Yellow Oval Room. Everybody's going to the Yellow Oval Room or the Lincoln Room, but are there no other? I mean, we got the attic, the East Room, the Blue Room, but a majority of them are in the Yellow Oval Room. Is that the one where the president stays in or does his speeches? We always talk about the Oval Office.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what the Yellow Oval Room. We need to
Look
have
it up.
we need a blueprint of the White House. Anna Sherratt, she is she was the female during the whole assassination of Lincoln, the Sherratt family. She was the female that was hung along with her other cohorts that got caught at the Sherratt farm. She was like the one that housed them all. Apparently she bangs on the door of the White House, pleading to see President Andrew Johnson. She was there to bang for a pardon for her. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is her daughter. I was thinking of her mother. So this is her daughter begging for the pardon of her mother. And then, Mary Sherratt, that's who I was thinking of, is Mary Sherratt. So Anna Sherratt, the daughter, goes and bangs on the door. So those are big doors to be banging on. Pleading to see Andrew Johnson and asking for a pardon for her mother. Wow. So that's a lot. That's a lot.
I'm curious what the history of the Yellow Oval Room is. Like, what is the significance of that specific spot in all of that White House?
Right. Like, is it obviously it has to be different than the Oval Office that we always see the president doing their speeches. Like the famous desk is in the Oval Office. It's the one where you see, JFK and John Jr. coming out from underneath the desk. That's in the Oval Office. Is that a different office compared to the Yellow Oval Office?
Yeah, I'm looking at what looks like a map of the White House. It looks like it's like very central, has a balcony. Of course, it's hard to find a map of the White House with all the other rooms.
We don't need Secret Service to be or FBI to come knocking on your door while you're looking at the blueprints of the White House. Especially during an election year. We don't need that.
Right.
But okay, so when you look at the White House, obviously it has that rounded face, and then it comes out on the sides where they're flat surfaces of the walls. So has to be that area, that rounded area of the White House.
Exactly.
But the Yellow Oval Office, I don't know what the difference is. So, according to George W. Bush's daughters, they used to hear the girls, they're twins, when he was president, which isn't too far, too long ago, because he got in during 9/11 time, so 2001, so 23 years ago, he went into office. So his daughters said that they would hear opera music, and then they would also hear music from the 1920s coming from a fireplace. Fireplaces there are portals, I guess. I don't know. Um, so President Lincoln has become known as simply as the White House ghost. So he's not even the president anymore. Oh, it's the White House ghost,
He's the man of the house.
right? Who's that tall man over there? Oh, that's just the White House ghost. It's fine. Just keep on walking. It sure looks like no, it's not him. Just keep walking.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, First Ladies Grace Coolidge, Lady Bird Johnson, and Jacqueline Kennedy, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Queen, well, I can see I'm back at it again, Wilhelmina of the Netherlands. I'll get it sometime, Debbie, I swear. All said they encountered the ghost, the White House ghost, also known as AKA Abraham Lincoln, or they felt his presence in the White House. Well, he's a tall man, so it's a big presence to feel. But how do they know it's him though? I get it if they're seeing him, but how do they know that they're actually in the presence of his spirit? How do they know it's not the 15-year-old boy that likes to get in your face?
I'm thinking because he's so tall.
Maybe. Maybe. I'm surprised JFK is in this thing.
Right.
Haunting it. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt also reported feeling Lincoln's presence as she worked in her office in the Lincoln. How big is this bedroom? She was working in her office in the Lincoln bedroom. So it's like an apartment? So you got...
And it must be.
Well, yeah, because you got Churchill taking a bath there. And then you got the bedroom itself where he was sleeping. Now they're talking about her office that was in there. And it was as if he were peering over her shoulder. And then President FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, his valet once ran screaming from the White House after seeing Lincoln's ghost. Well, that's reassuring. Why is a man screaming and running? Oh, we just saw, the ghost of the White House. It's fine. Just nothing to see here. Americans
I found
are crazy.
Lincoln's room. It is huge.
Is it?
It's huge. It's as big as the presidential bedroom.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So it's like a mini apartment, I guess.
It's a mini apartment. Yeah, it's got its own sitting room, its own bathroom. I mean, it's probably the size of my house.
Wow. Well, then you got the First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln held seances in the Red Room. So can you see where the Red Room is?
Yeah, Red Room is on the first floor. Let's see. Thought it was the first floor.
Is it close to the yellow oval room?
No, that yellow the yellow oval room is between the president's bedroom and Lincoln's bedroom. It's in the middle of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird because I looked up yellow oval room. It's for small receptions or for greeting heads of state immediately before a state dinner.
Okay, well, that would make sense if that's like going to be the haunted area because, that's where they're meeting everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the seance room, is the Red Room, is it like directly below those areas at all?
I'm not finding the Red Room labeled. I thought it was on the first floor.
I'm just thinking maybe she opened something up and then it's like underneath those rooms.
Yeah, it looks like there's just bedrooms and entrance hall and the game room all below that space.
Hmm.
I don't see a fireplace or anything down there either. But
Interesting.
these are interesting maps that I'm seeing, so they could be slightly off.
Right. I'm sure they're not going to put everything out there because, got to keep some secrets because you don't want bad people to go in and do bad things. So I can
Yeah,
understand
well,
that. So Willie died of typhoid fever in 1862. And then in 1870, that's when the staff of Grant saw him. So 8 years later. Andrew Jackson is seen in the Rose Room because that's where he used to sleep. And that's where they're hearing the stomping and the laughter and all that stuff laying in the bed. That was his bedroom. The attic, which is now the third floor. So I don't know if there's anything on the third floor, offices or anything, but that was the attic. That's where William Henry Harrison passed away or died in the White House, but he haunts the attic, which is now the third floor. He was the president. Oh, he was the one that was only president for 31 days. He was our shortest president, not height-wise, but in the office. They hear him moving around in the attic. And in 1927, the attic was renovated and turned into an expansion of the executive residency. So whoever the executive resident is, that's their area. And then President Harry Truman reported several instances of paranormal activity during his time in the White House, where he would, in June of 1945, he wrote his wife Bess about the life in the White House during the first 2 months of his term. So I guess his wife wasn't there with him. So he says, I sit here in an old house and work on foreign affairs, read reports, and work on speeches, all the while listening to the ghosts walking up and down the hallway, and even writing here in the study. The floor pops and the drapes move back and forth. I can just imagine old Andy Jackson or Teddy Roosevelt having an argument over Franklin Roosevelt. So then in 1946, he wrote his wife another letter after he heard a knock on his bedroom door, and there was nobody there. He said, I jumped up and put on my bathrobe, opened the door, and there's no one there. Went out and looked up and down the hallway, looked in your room and Margie's, still no one. Went back to bed after locking the doors, and there were footsteps in your room, so his wife's room, whose door I'd left open. Jumped and looked, and no one there. The damn place is haunted, sure shooting. Secret Service said that even a watchman was up here at that hour, or was not up there at that hour. You and Maggie had better come back and protect me before some of these ghosts carry me off. It's a good thing they didn't find out about that until much later. President Ronald Reagan's dog, Rex, he used to bark at the doorway of Lincoln's bedroom. Like, nobody wants to be in Lincoln's bedroom. Not even the dog. He was suspecting a ghostly visitor. He said at a 1986 state dinner, Reagan told guests that Rex had barked at the entrance to Lincoln's bedroom and refused to go inside. Reagan's daughter and son-in-law also reported seeing ghostly figures in the bedroom. Like, there's no winning. Like, if you're going to... Paranormal activity is definitely in the Lincoln bedroom. If they would just let some paranormal investigators in there, we could, like, try to debunk all this stuff for them. Say, no, it's not Lincoln. It's just an old house that, the heat and the cold, it's just making things pop and move, and I mean, he new windows. So, um, the girls, the Jenna and Barbara Bush, George Bush's daughters, like I told you guys before, they would hear opera singing in the 1920s, piano music coming out of the fireplace in their bedroom. It said, "We knew that if any place was haunted, it was this house, but we tried to rationalize it." That's what Jenna wrote in her 2017 memoir with Barbara, the first sisters. When the White House butler, Buddy Carter, asked the girls how they slept, they would tell him about this mysterious singing and music that they would hear. And so Buddy would say, "Oh, Miss Jenna, I believe you. You wouldn't believe what I hear over the years." But Buddy hasn't yet told me any of his ghost stories. But I keep hoping that and that's what she wrote. First Lady Michelle Obama said that she and President Barack Obama once heard noises coming from the hallway outside their room. She also said that the family members felt an odd sensation as if someone was gnawing at their feet. Perhaps a ghost of a White House pet. Well, that's just weird.
Yeah, bizarre.
Now, what happened when you stayed at the White House? I don't know. Something was gnawing at my feet. I think it's a ghost. I'm not sure. It could be rats. It's DC, so it's a possibility. They said the exorcism, of Reagan happened in Georgetown, so maybe it just popped over to the White House too. I don't know. So what do you guys think about this whole spirits of the White House?
It's an old house. It's got a lot of history, and who knows what was, they had a fire in the 1800s and just a lot of history in that house. So I think
Yeah.
there's probably something there.
Well, yeah, it's an old house. I mean, the thing's been around since, 1800s. And like you said, it's already had a fire there, and then they had to rebuild and all that stuff. They've had so many people coming in and out of there throughout the years. I mean, now you pretty much have to write, that you're going to give away your firstborn just to walk into the place nowadays. But back then it wasn't uncommon for people to just walk right up into the White House and talk to the president. Like, "Hey, I need to talk to the president." "All right, go stand in line." And that was happening all the way up until recently, like in the, 20th century, that people were able to walk into the White House and talk with the president. But
even in the 80s when we were touring, they're like, "Oh, the president's not going to be here today," or they would say, "Oh, there's a chance he's going to be here." So there was even appearances then, I mean, you couldn't just go ask to go talk to him, of course, but
right.
he would appear and, whoever the president was at the time, would come and greet people. And it was pretty open thing. I mean, yeah, you had to go through security and do that whole drill, but anybody who's anybody could go and tour the White House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously they have their restrictions. You can only go this way. You can only go that way. You can't just roam around the halls and, "Hey, I'm going to go jump on the president's bed and check out his closet," and whatever, They're not going to let you go, "Oh, I want to go, for a swim down in the pool," or whatever. But, there has to be something there. There's so much energy coming out of those walls just throughout the years and all the different things that happen. I mean, think about, you got the leaders of the world coming in those doors. The energy in those walls have to be palpable.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they still candidly talked about it when I was there. I mean, granted, that's almost 40 years ago, but
Yeah, it's fine.
But there was, people that would talk about hauntings in the house then. So you would think if there was nothing, that they wouldn't be talking about it.
Right. And I mean, it's had deaths, it's had births, you know, it, animals have passed away there, I mean, it just, and how many staff members that used to work there? You're telling
Yeah.
me that there wasn't any staff members that ever passed away in the house? I'm sure they did, or had some kind of medical emergency in the White House.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then just outside, when we were there, I don't know, we were at the White House, but we didn't go in it. But when we were there, it was probably seven, 7 or 9 years ago, somewhere around there. Within the last 10 years, we've been there. Um, and there's all these people outside protesting. You've got this group of protesters over in this corner of the street, and because you can't drive in front of the White House. You can drive behind the White House in the park area, but a lot of people just get out and walk because it's easier to do that than drive around. But actually, in front of the White House, you no longer can drive. It's blocked off. You can only walk in front of it. So you've got these people over here that are just visitors taking pictures of the White House, and oh, I'm super excited. And then you have this group over here that's protesting God only knows what. Their toothpaste expired. I don't know what the problem is. And then you got, a busload of kids over in this other group over here that's on their 8th grade field trip. You got the nuns in the corner, whatever. You got everything over there. So there's not only all that energy in the building, but outside the building as well. And, the DC was built, when you think about it, the founding fathers, they were all Masoners. So you've got all that going on too. And obviously it goes back to our second president is still haunting the place. So, you got almost 200 years worth of energy in those walls and on that ground, and everything in between that's happened, wars that have happened, Civil War, that DC wasn't, they were part of it during the Revolutionary War. Who knows? Because DC, the White House didn't exist at that point, but you still had everything going on for the Revolutionary War time, which is now why we have our Independence Day. So, I mean, there was a lot of battles there because, you got the Potomac and you got that waterway and everything. So you got all these things going on. There's definitely something happening at the White House.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're at least admitting that there's something there.
I think that out.
So
I don't know.
I actually saw a picture of the White House at Halloween time. That was actually kind of cool. They put cobwebs over the 2 floors, where the rounded area of the front area, back area. I don't even know what that is. But they had cobwebs on both floors and giant spiders all over. I'm like, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it would make a great haunted house.
Right? Just saying. I'm like, come on, just
Lots of rooms. It's really chopped up.
right. Can you imagine? I'm like, just think, you could bring in so much money for the country if you let us go in and have a haunted house there. I'm just saying. You know how many people would want to go through there?
Oh man, or like a Airbnb,
Right. Like, you don't have to let us into where you're actually going and saying, okay, we're doing some kind of diplomatic thing over here, or we're deciding who we're gonna start a war with over here. We don't need to be in those rooms, but just let us have a room or two, just to have some fun.
Yeah, set up some equipment, investigate.
Right. You can charge us an arm and a leg. Fine. You already tax us. So what else is new? We go from complaining about 2% tax to, 40% tax. But, that's nor here nor there. We'll pay it to come in to investigate. We won't charge you, but you'll charge us. But just let us in. I'd love to get in there. And I don't know, do they let you take pictures? I don't think they do.
I don't think they allowed any photography in there when I was there.
And I'm sure now they have the metal detectors and everything else. You couldn't even get like a recorder in there.
Oh yeah.
But you got your smartphones, smartwatches. I don't know.
Yeah,
They
they might make you
confiscate
remove that
those.
stuff these days. Yeah, you never
Dang it.
know.
I'm just trying to think of things. Like I have the watch that's a recorder on it that, it's not a smartwatch. Could I like maybe make it in the door with that? I don't know. Because it doesn't do
Might do some
anything
jail
except
time.
record. That's all right. You want to put me in the jail there? I mean, I'm sure they got some kind of jail inside the White House.
Oh, it's
I'll
probably
stay in
nicer than my
there.
house.
Yeah, I'll
I
stay
don't have
there.
a bad house, but I'm sure it's nice.
I'll walk the dog. It's
Right?
fine. Wash the dishes, whatever I gotta do. Just let me take a recorder in. I won't say it's from, the White House. It's fine. What do they know? I mean, they finally let go of the documents about the UFOs, by the way. It's UFO Day, World
I saw
Day.
that.
Yeah. So I mean, when are they going to release all the information about all the ghosts and stuff? Like really
Never.
release everything that they got. Like they've got
Yeah.
cameras everywhere in that building. So you're telling me that none of your CCT equipment picked up any kind of paranormal stuff?
It'll be a book or a movie.
Right. Can you imagine? You're like, all of a sudden you're watching the cameras or whatever, and then all of a sudden the president or first lady is like up in the air and they're like levitating over the bed. Like, all right,
Right.
you go tell John then I gotta go in there because I gotta push him back down onto the bed.
Right. It's rope time again.
Right. Damn it, there they go again, floating in the air. Okay, we gotta. Well, then they're moving their feet. Well, the dog's gnawing. The spirit dog's gnawing on their feet, and we gotta go in there and wrangle the dog. I mean, they have to have something. That would be so cool to see.
That would be interesting.
If anybody knows of anybody that worked in the White House or is currently working in the White House, could you just let us know if they've actually seen anything? That would be wonderful. I mean, just a little tidbit of something that happened there. I don't need to see any kind of footage of, Churchill being naked or anything, but could we just see maybe, a chair move or maybe, see Abigail trying to do her laundry in the East Room? We're not asking for much, just a little. So, what do you guys think? Anything? Nothing? I don't know.
I want to go back now.
Right?
It's been a long time.
Well, even when I was like standing, so when we went, Obama was in. That's right. Obama was in because I'm like, we're standing in the back where the park area is. So it'd be, our backs were towards the Washington Monument. And I remember telling the kids, I'm like, well, supposedly in this area here is supposed to be the president's bedroom area. I said, so you got to be careful because I don't know if Michelle or Barack are going to walk past the window and forget that they are in the White House. And you might not want to see some things in the White House that, you don't want to see. Or, the girls or whatever. I'm sure that they've got it where that's not where the bed is or whatever. But I just like, they must seem like whoever is staying at the White House must seem like they're in like a zoo exhibit. Like you can't do anything. It's all fenced in.
No
Just like
privacy whatsoever.
none. And it's like whatever you're doing is right there for people watching. Oh, do that, monkey. You know, oh, look at the lion. They're yawning, they're growling, or stupid stuff that we do at the zoos all the time. You know, oh, look at that
Mhm.
one. Look at that one, or the aquarium. Looking at the fish, it's like they have no privacy, no matter what they want to do. I can understand why, like Jackie was very protective over her kids because they want to go play in the playground. So she got to build like this playground where people don't get to see their kids playing on the jungle gyms or whatever, no matter what they're doing. And then, okay, yeah, it's not that close. It's not like, oh, I can really see inside the windows or whatever, because their bedrooms on the second floor. You still don't see much, but still it's got to be weird.
Yeah. Get that sense that somebody's always watching. Somebody's always
Right.
looking in or under surveillance.
Yeah, and have you ever been in a building where like they're doing the windows, like washing the windows and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, I'm on third, fourth floor, and all of a sudden you look over, there's a guy. That actually happened to us when we were in Charleston. We were staying in a brand new hotel, like brand new. Like the pool wasn't even open yet. And
Hmm.
they were still doing stuff, but they allowed our family to come in for a family. I don't know why we got to go in this thing. But my daughter and my son come running over by us and like, Mommy, there's a man outside our window and we're on the fifth floor. I'm like,
Uh,
what? And I look and it's the window washer. But it's like, hello? I'm like, we're gonna close these curtains here.
yeah.
We don't need you seeing in here. But that's what they gotta feel like. So, but the other thing is, if you close those curtains, how am I supposed to see if there's a ghost walking past? How am I supposed to see Lincoln walking past the window or whatever?
Hmm.
I wonder if anybody's caught anything like that. Something
Yeah.
walking around and it's visible from the windows.
That would be cool.
You would think that people would take pictures, but if this happens at night or anything,
Mm-hmm.
they probably wouldn't have the wherewithal to grab their cell phone or grab a camera and take pictures. Because if they took pictures, wouldn't they have been posted online by now?
I would think. Or is it one of those, like Facebook, oh, you can't post that, you got to take it down or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
does the government go, that's kind of shady, we can't have that, you need to take that down type thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
But you would think that there's got to be something out there for them to post something.
Yeah.
I was trying to look in my notes to see if I found anything, but I didn't see anything about any kind of pictures or whatever. They just talk about Lincoln had some unfinished business. Well, duh. The man got shot in the middle of his presidency. Let's see. Well, Churchill never slept in Lincoln's bedroom after that.
I bet not.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Reagan's dog. I just saw a picture of Reagan's dog. It's like a King Charles kind of dog. Kind of like a Cocker Spaniel, but I think it's like a King Charles. He's cute. It's definitely one that would be like, it's a smaller dog, so them, they're like fearless. Unlike, my big, well, I'm sure yours too, Kevin, because yours are bigger than my dogs. Scared at like a leaf flying past a window and they go running the other way, or do yours actually get a little aggressive? Mine fly the other way.
Might just look.
But this one here looks like it would be one that'd be like showing all its teeth and hair raised, and I'm gonna go in, charge, and whatever it is that's haunting, that whatever I'm seeing is not of this earth. And it just looks like one of those kind of dogs. Like, we obviously Chihuahuas are the fearless ones. Those ones they will just rip your arm off. They don't care.
Ankle biters.
Right? Those things are they're mean. I know some of them, they're not mean. They get a bad rap like any other dog, but they're like PMSing all the time. You never see one of those in the White House. I've
Right.
never seen a Chihuahua in the White House. Cats have been in the White House. Those have been there, but I've never seen that's like Scotty dogs have been there. They have smaller dogs, but
Well, doesn't Biden have German Shepherds?
Got
does
at
he?
least one. Yeah.
I don't remember what he had.
There was one that kept biting the security guards,
Oh, that's right.
and they took that one home and brought another one back, and the second one started doing that too.
Oh, jeez.
Well, maybe they're seeing something that, I don't know. They obviously animals are going to see stuff that we don't see, and they're going to react to things. Oh my goodness, speaking of animals, my little ducks in here. Hello.
Oh.
See, this one here would be the one that he runs away, but yet he goes right back at it. So I could see him being in the White House going, what the heck is that? And then, wait, you need to come back here. I need to figure you out. You gonna
Too
talk
funny.
to them? But I don't know. I want to see some kind of footage now. I'm interested in that.
Homework time.
Right? My dog is taking over the podcast. It is his podcast. And the thing that I was looking at, you're right. Lincoln's bedroom is like huge.
Yeah.
And same with where Abigail did her laundry. That room is big too, the East room. That's like that's a kind of like that's like a ballroom. That's how big that thing is. I'll have to post the pictures. But I have to do it tactfully so that we don't get in trouble. Secret Service comes knocking on our door. It's weird to think that the White House was not around at the very beginning. Like you'd think that it was. But it
A
really
lot of
wasn't.
DC burned down,
Right. Was that during the War of 1812 that all that happened?
I think so.
And they were able to salvage a little bit, but not a lot of the White House. They basically had to redo the whole White House.
Yep.
Speaking of, I think we kind of hit everything on this whole White House thing. Like you said, I want to go back now because I want to see more of the White House. Even when we were there, we didn't even get to the Capitol. We saw the Capitol from a distance, but we never made it to the Capitol. Well, you went when you were in 8th grade. But as a family, we didn't stop at the Capitol, which is unfortunate. There's a lot of history, though. A lot of things I'd like to go and see in DC. There's so many things there, just historical.
Oh,
I want to know if, like, with all the museums and stuff like that, is the science industry, is the Smithsonian, are they haunted?
You have to wonder because
So.
forget how many buildings that the Smithsonian has.
Right. There's what?
But yeah.
4 or 5 museums that they have?
There is a ton.
There is a ton. And then don't they have like a castle too? Where they have like stuff in the castle that they took over or something like that. But yeah, I want to know if that's haunted.
Oh yeah,
Has
the
to be.
castle. Yeah, it's been there since 1855, so you'd have to think there's some history there.
Right.
Jeez, I really want to go back now.
Right.
Road trip.
Right. I mean, everything that you do. Well, I want to go there too. I want to go back because I want to go to Georgetown. I want to take a picture of the stairs, the Exorcist stairs,
Oh yeah.
just so I have a picture of it. But yeah, all the stuff that's there has to have some kind of spirits running around. But yeah, I want to go now. I want to go see it. New pair of eyes. So, all right, guys. Well, I think we've gotten everything we possibly could get out of the White House for now. We're not going to give up on you, White House. We're gonna keep insisting that we get into the White House as paranormal investigators. Not just our team, any team. You know, let somebody in so that they can do an investigation because, people want to know about it.
Yeah.
You fought for our independence and all that, and all the other wars that came afterwards and everything else that went around it. And I think the American families deserve to be able to know what's actually in those halls, in those rooms, spiritually. There's spirit in there that is haunting it. We want to know. We want proof, right? That's what it is. We're demanding proof of paranormal activity in the White House. So, well, guys, I think we beat the dead horse here. So, I think we're gonna say good night. For skeptics, keep us grounded. For believers, keep believing. Kathy, good night.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.